Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib from Michigan has officially endorsed Bernie Sanders for president. Now, let me first show you her endorsement video, and then I'll get to the event that happened over the weekend in Detroit.
Ammo Bernie is what I like to call him, which Ammo means uncle in Arabic. I think Ammo Bernie, when he saw just not myself, but my other sisters in service being attacked by this president, this bully, for him, there was no hesitation. He jumped on board and said, what can I do to uplift you all? What can I do to support you all? The fact that he truly believes that women like us, women that this institution hasn't been ready for, that we feel supported. And from day one, he's always made us feel like that. I am endorsing Ammo Bernie Sanders because he's not gonna sell us out. He understands that it's not just about policies and about words, but it's gonna be also about completely transforming the structures in place that is hurting American people. For me, representing the third poorest congressional district in the country, he is in many ways pushing back against this really painful oppression. It's been incredibly inspiring to see his unwavering support for the same ideals that I have about people over profits. He is speaking about that mother that is tired of walking by blighted homes, tired of having to send their child to a school that doesn't have clean drinking water, or fighting just for the right to literacy right now that's happening in Michigan. I mean, there is something incredibly inspiring about someone that we know is not going to sell us out, that's not going to bow down to these structures that are so built on racism, built on choosing those that are wealthy, that he's consistent in saying that he's with us first. He will always choose us first. My family has never ever really come together on a lot of political issues, honestly, after the passing of my father, but Ammo Bernie seems to be able to unite us.
So another uplifting endorsement video from a member of the squad. This one hits on messages that are similar to the ones, are similar to the endorsements that you see from other people. So Tlaib mentions here, it's not just about policies or words, but it's about transforming the structures in place. Bernie Sanders has always had a consistent message on that. He won't sell us out, and Bernie won't bow down to the power that's in place. Again, this is kind of what may be the biggest difference between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Bernie Sanders has shown an eagerness to challenge power. Elizabeth Warren hasn't, and she has to be questioned and challenged herself on it to even attempt to challenge power. So, I mean, even you could see this, to me, the perfect example, because it shows the eagerness or lack thereof of both these candidates. In 2016, Bernie Sanders waited to see if Elizabeth Warren would run against Hillary Clinton, because at the time, Elizabeth Warren was the big name in the progressive, in the Democratic Party to push progressive policy through. She did not want to challenge Hillary Clinton. She was afraid. Bernie Sanders did challenge Hillary Clinton. That shows you an eagerness to challenge power. Bernie Sanders knew there had to be a different message put out there, that the status quo was not going to do it. So he challenged Hillary Clinton. This is what you need in a politician. You need somebody who's willing to put it all out on the line for millions of Americans in the country, for the millions of people that are being held down by the status quo. Bernie Sanders challenges power and does so consistently. Now, Rashida Tlaib officially announced her endorsement at a rally in Detroit, Michigan. Let me show you an image of it here. You can see it's a packed house. So, by the way, this was a state, Michigan, that Sanders won in 2016 against Hillary Clinton, to the shock of many members of the media. And also at that event was Jack White, the musical artist who also performed and endorsed Bernie Sanders. Now, let me show you a series of clips from that event, including a message that Bernie left the people there with that I want to touch on.
We live in a district where billionaires get hundreds of millions of dollars in tax breaks while our schools close, and while the ones that stay opened had their water turned off because it was unsafe to drink. Including right here at Cass Tech. I want you to let that just sink in for a moment. This building we are at right here gathered just a couple blocks away from Little Caesars Arena, whose billionaire owners received $324 million in tax breaks in exchange for broken promises of jobs and housing. They took millions away from our schools. We deserve a president who understands that the corporate assault on our lives existed before Trump, and it will exist after Trump. We deserve someone who writes the damn bills. We deserve Bernie Sanders. Brothers and sisters! Bernie
Sanders! Rashida has been a leader in the fight for decent jobs, a leader in the fight for affordable housing, a leader in the fight for clean water, and she has shown that she is prepared to take on corporate greed and corruption and stand with the working class of this country. The people on top suffer from a terrible illness called greed. $1 billion is not enough for them. They need $2 billion. $2 billion is not enough for them. They need $10 billion. And if they have to step on everybody else in this country, if they have to attack the working class of this country, that is what they will do in order to increase their wealth and profits. Mandela said, after spending almost his entire adult life in jail, he said, quote, "It always seems impossible until it is done." You all understand what he said. It always seems impossible until it is done. In other words, what the establishment, whether it is the economic establishment, the political establishment, or the media establishment, what they want us to believe is that real and fundamental change can never occur, can't be done. They want us to believe that our vision for the future is a pipe dream, that it is unrealistic, that it is utopian thinking, that it can't happen. They want us to believe that we are stuck with the rotten status quo. And by the way, it is not just Republicans who tell us. Too many Democrats tell us that as well. The most significant form of opposition we face is the limitation to our imaginations. And that is what Mandela was talking about. If you think it can't be done, if you think you are powerless, if you think the future only belongs to the rich and the powerful, then that's the future that you'll have. But if you believe that when we stand united, that when we stand for justice, that when we are prepared to take on the corporate elite, when we believe that, there is nothing we cannot accomplish.
All right. So I love that. I mean, this is the kind of message that gets me going. Optimism, hope for the future, while at the same time challenging people in the audience and the movement as a whole to think differently about these issues. So Bernie quoting Mandela here is perfect. It always seems impossible until it is done. That's with anything. Anything good that's ever happened has been a struggle, whether it's universal health care in other countries. So in Canada, we didn't always have universal health care. It was a struggle to get it through. We face the same barriers that Americans are facing now, be it the corporate establishment, the media establishment. So it got done through collective action, through people working together and pushing for it. And it got through, it got done, it got passed. We have universal health care. You can do the same in your country, and not just with healthcare, but with everything, including with this presidency. So it always seems impossible until it's done. I mean, this is people oftentimes, I know because I'm on Twitter, I read comments. People get discouraged. People get discouraged by the media, the way the media covers Bernie's campaign or doesn't cover his campaign. People get discouraged seeing how much power corporations and the wealthy have in America. But don't get discouraged by that. Understand it's normal to struggle in order to get something accomplished that is beneficial. But it is possible, and it can be done if you get involved and help get it done. Collective action is what will get it done. This is why Bernie Sanders, in all of his rallies, he always says, this campaign is not about me, it's about us. It's about all of us. Because he knows and he acknowledges that he will not be able to get anything done, even if he is president, if he doesn't have the people behind him as well, putting pressure on politicians from outside. So Bernie will be putting the pressure on within the walls of Washington. The people, the movement, will be putting the pressure on outside of Washington. It requires both. It requires collective action to get any of this done. And he's the candidate to do it because he has shown a consistent fight. He will not sell you out. You know that. I mean, even if you don't support his policies or support what he supports, you know that Bernie's an honest guy. You know that he has had a consistent message, has always fought for the same thing. You can go back and watch his old videos from the 80s, from the 90s. He has always fought for the same thing. He will fight for you if he's put in that position. And you have to help from the outside to also put pressure on politicians to get the stuff passed that he wants to get passed. One more thing I want to mention here, because Tlaib was here, obviously. I think Rashida Tlaib should be considered for vice president. That's my thoughts. I think she's fantastic. She could totally be VP. She's a fighter, a real fighter, and one of the most important endorsements that Bernie Sanders has. So I just want to throw that out there. I think she's a good potential for vice president, along with some other choices like Nina Turner. Has always been my first choice. But I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on that. I know she's, a freshman in Congress, but I totally think it can happen. And she's exactly the kind of fighter that people need fighting for them. And you can see the reception she had there. I mean, if you watch the whole rally, I watched a lot of it. They love her. I mean, she is just, they absolutely love her because she is one of them. She is not somebody that is, perched up and speaking down to people. She is of the movement. She is of the people. She properly represents actual people, poor and middle class people. She represents them in Washington. She is a fighter. And this endorsement as well, when you consider the kind of pressure that Washington puts on these politicians once they get into Congress, the fact that Tlaib, along with Omar and AOC, have endorsed Bernie Sanders really shows you their willingness to challenge the political establishment.